For Thursday, March 30th, 2017. To order. Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Entercom?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Collins? Mr. Collins is present.
She's saying here.
You here?
Present.
I probably didn't speak loudly enough. Mr. Farnham? Mr. Guidry is out of town on business this evening. Mr. Guillory?
Here.
Mr. Hunter?
Here.
Mr. Landry?
Here.
Mr. Latour?
Here.
Ms. Mayo?
Here.
Vice Chairman McMillan?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mrs. Trimmy? Here. Mr. White?
Here.
And Chairman Barris.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seems like deja vu, but we have a presentation of a trophy and certificates to the players and coaches of the St. Louis Catholic High School boys soccer team in recognition of winning the 2017 Division III Soccer State Championship, which is their 13th overall state championship. Mr. Hunter?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you mind if I approach the podium?
Sir.
No, your brother.
Get over here.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, this is a bit like deja vu, and this is a very exciting night because I believe, I'm not speaking out of turn when I say that we now have a team that has won the most state soccer championships in the history of the state of Louisiana, and that team is right here in Lake Charles, Louisiana, in Calcasieu Parish. So, guys, awesome. Congratulations. I'd like to invite Coach Ortling to come up. And before we go through some of these names, Coach, congratulations, amazing job, and would you like to say a few words?
Just want to thank y'all once again. You know, it is deja vu a little bit, but it's always very appreciative of everything, you know, when you recognize these guys, because, you know, when we first started, soccer wasn't the biggest thing in Louisiana, not the biggest thing in Lake Charles, and I think these kids have kind of put themselves on the map along the way. And this group, you know, we don't have all of them here because they're all involved in different things, and a lot of these guys are too, and have just figured it out how to be here. But we've got kids in tennis and LSU for spring testing and all that. When they come together, just in case you weren't aware of, they're a very special group. You know, this was our seventh championship out of the last 8 years, and of course, as Mr. Hunter said, the 13th overall. And these kids definitely earned it. It wasn't expected this year. You know, we had a real big rebuilding year, but I'm not sure out of all the years, and this is my 24th year of coaching, I'm not sure if I've ever had a group that has worked as hard as these guys. So, I appreciate as their coach, the recognition, because they definitely deserve to be recognized, and we thank y'all.
All right, guys, as I call your name out, you'll receive a certificate, and just stand right here in the front and we'll have a picture. Andrew Kilpatrick. Eli Goggin. Andrew, congrats, man. Zach Eisner.
Good job.
Tyler Hoover. Matthew Dufresne. Thibaut Fall. Luke Ayu. Dawson Goodfriend. Ryan Snyder.
Christy Davis.
Evan Dore.
Congratulations.
Luke Schwarzenberg.
Congratulations.
Jack Clement.
Congratulations.
Christopher Zarek. Lane Stein.
Congratulations.
Sam Broussard.
Congratulations, buddy.
Ryan Monk.
Congratulations.
Joseph Tassin.
Congratulations.
Nicholas Villeman.
Congratulations. Congratulations, brother.
Kirby Ortling. Thanks for being here. And Coach.
Congratulations, y'all. Congratulations, brother.
We don't have the president here, so I'm just gonna let him.
Well, you're doing a good job. Congratulations.
Do we get the vice president in the picture too? Since the president isn't here?
He's here.
Stagger up in there.
Maybe he left. One, two, three. One, two, three.
Hey, brother. Pleasure as always. How we doing? Yeah, man. How you been?
That's right, that's right. Congrats.
Good, right?
Hey, Judd.
Not yet. Oh, I did have one call today.
Eric said you sweetened them up already.
I have two, that's enough for me.
You gonna sweeten them up some more?
Somebody.
What, that was it? Yeah. What was it? What was it? It won't be too Works, you said it was? Workforce Commission. Workforce. Hey, you do realize what other people think?
I'm,
I'm gonna call them and ask.
Okay, next item, presentation of a retirement certificate to Ms. Vaive Coors, Office of Juvenile Justice Services, in recognition of 35 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Calcasieu Parish. Mr. Summers and Mr. Boland.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the jury. I said this last week at a retirement function that we don't see that many retirements in our line of work. I'm not sure whether it's burnout or dealing with crisis after crisis. It just so when we get a retirement, we kind of rejoice here. Vi Martin Coors spent 36 years faithfully dealing with children and helping families in Calcasieu Parish. She began her career as a juvenile probation officer, working in the field department back in when the 14th Judicial District Court had administrative control over the agency. From the field department, she moved into the intake department and began writing grants. It is in the grants where she found her niche and her greatest accomplishments. She brought in many thousands of dollars to Calcasieu Parish and OJJS, successfully writing grants for drug court, mental health court, FINS, TASK, crime victims, Project No, and countless others. Vi was, like I said, she was responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars. She became well-known in grants field, and she was noticed on a state and federal level. She was appointed to the Louisiana Juvenile Justice Advisory Board, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Federal Advisory Board. She was the statewide chairperson for the Disproportionate Minority Confinement Board and has commendations and appreciation letters from then Senator Willie Mount, Superintendent of the Calcasieu Parish School System, Junior League of Lake Charles, and countless others. Vi was a supervisor at OJJS, retiring as a quality assurance manager, a job only a seasoned and well-respected individual can do. So I can turn this over just a little bit to Dane, and I know he wants to say a few words.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening. We had a great retirement party last week for Vi. It was really nice. Had a good time, good food, good visit. People ask, how do you do 36 years? And I told Vi, and I think she's a kind of spitting image of it. When you find something you like to do, you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I think that really says kind of why Vi's here after 36 years. She never thought it was work. I also joked last week, I told Dave and Sarah, her family, were they? And Sarah's sitting down, and Dave's taking pictures. I said, you realize tomorrow Vi's going to walk in the door and say, "Hey, family, I'm home forever." So I hope you're ready for that. It's kind of a deal. I know the family's excited because Vi's a world traveler, by the way, so she'll better travel a little bit more. But quickly, I think when you look at careers, and I look at my career, you hear a lot of folks say, "I wouldn't have been here for that person because of this reason." Literally, I would not be here except for Vi Martin. She had some mutual friends who were living in the married dorm, and I graduated. When you graduated McNeese, you get kicked out the next day of housing. So I had no job. I had a small job. So I had a job, and Vi says, "You ever thought about working at a juvenile detention center?" I said, "Where's that?" And she got me an interview. She got me hired, and she was my first boss, and kind of to this day is my boss today. She has never stopped that road, so literally, I would not be here for Vi. So with that, and I'll leave you with this, don't be sad because it's over. Smile because all the folks you touched. So I think that's perfect, because you have. Families have been really blessed by you in our parish. And Dave, enjoy it. Sarah, enjoy it. And we really do appreciate it. So this time we'll do a plaque. Okay. I won't do a John Boehner here. Okay, Vi. Certificate of Appreciation presented by the Calhoun Parish Police Jury on this 30th day of March 2017. To Vaib Coors, Manager 1, Office of Juvenile Justice Services, in recognition and appreciation of 35+ years of service to the citizens of Calhoun Parish. Congratulations and best wishes on your retirement.
It's actually been 36 years, 3 months, and 20 days. Look at this calendar. Thank you so much. And I didn't cry until now. I didn't cry at my party, probably because we had a lot of food, and that usually goes well. And my husband is so happy I'm retiring because I haven't cooked in 36 years, 3 months, and 2 days. I said, well, I can't cook. I've got people to save and lives to impact. I can't be bothered with cooking, you know? So he took up the chores, and I appreciate what my family's been through to allow me to sacrifice to help our families here. And it's just been the greatest honor to work for the police jury. And I told Brian that last week. I wasn't just saying it because he was there, but I'm the biggest cheerleader for the parish. Anytime we hire somebody new, I always make a point to go by and tell them, stick with it. It's a great organization. The police jury treats their staff, their employees with the greatest respect, and the benefits can match none other. And I tell these young ones, stick with it. You'll have a wonderful career. You'll retire with great benefits, and it's over with in a flash. And so I hope they heed my advice. But I appreciate what you've done for us as employees over the years, and that's just been one of my greatest honors, is to be able to say I work for the police jury. And my daughter also works at Burton Coliseum in the event center for events, and that's one of the proudest things too, is I'm like, my daughter is working for the police jury, and I tell her how wonderful that is on a resume. She's a senior at St. Louis, and she does not want me home. She has told me already this week, Mom, this was my quiet time. And so I noticed that she doesn't come home after school. And I want her to be home, and she's like, oh, you know, Mom, I don't want to be told, you know, to come home. So it's funny, but I get to spend 5 months with her until she starts college, and I'm going to make sure every day of that is quality time. So thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I love my family so much. Thank you.
Ms. Vi, we've got a couple folks who would like to say something to you. Real quick, though, you know what they say, you can cry at your party.
That's right. I said that last
You can cry if you want to. But congratulations on a long, successful career. And Mr. Brame,
Vi, thank you for your service for all these years. I've been in your office several times and seen the stacks and stacks of grants. I don't know how you did what you did, but I really appreciate it. And one of the funniest things that I guess I always got to pick on you about, you know what that is?
Yes, probably my team that I support.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Road. Well, I just wanted to say, go Tigers.
Roll
But it
Tide.
was always fun that we got to pick on that, but I really appreciate your 36 years. I know what kind of job you did, and I know that you just helped a tremendous amount of people and you know, getting those grants and stuff for them. So I appreciate your service and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brame. Mr. McMillan?
I had a whole list of things I was going to say about you good till that comment of Roll Tide. I didn't know that, but support your team, and I know they'll do well. Thank you for all you've done. You're an icon. I mean, our parish, you've done so many things for us, it's hard to describe it in a short period of time, but you've worked with the judges on many occasions. Judge Ezel, I know he loves you to death, and all the different judges in family court. You worked with them and made their job so much easier in what you've done. There's an old country song, "Who's Gonna Fill Their Shoes?" And that applies to you. I mean, it's gonna be very hard to fill your shoes in the job that you've done for the parish. When she gets tired of you being at home and things get going, after the speech I heard by you, we want to hire you back as public relations director. We loved what you said. Thank you for what you've done for our parish. God bless and have a great retirement. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Mr. Gildery?
Thank you, Mr. President. But I just want to say, every time I've seen you had that beautiful smile and so happy, and please enjoy your retirement. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Gildery. And again, thank you very much.
I did want to say that the reason that I'm such a Tide fan is the police jury, and one of the great benefits that they allow us to have is some educational leave time. And I was able to leave work and work on my master's degree from the University of Alabama. So roll Tide.
Sounds like you got your nickels worth. Thank you.
Kevin's not here to hear this.
Y'all gotta get your picture now. Yeah. I love that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Straighten your tie, Brian. Looking very good.
Wes does too.
Straighten your tie, Brian.
He didn't say flip it, he said straight. Here's a joy, really.
You go home and cook.
Okay, item number 5, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving the professional services agreement between the police jury and CSRS Incorporated for the Calcasieu Parish Transportation Initiative Phase 2. I've got a motion by Mr. Andrew Pont, second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? Any objections? Motion carries. Item 6, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the police jury and the city of Lake Charles to widen West Preon Lake Road and Sale Road in Ward 3. I have a motion by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Hunter.
I'd like to speak.
Any discussion? Okay, we got Mr. Brame.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the CEA on this widening of Preon Lake Road, who can, I'm not up to date on it. If somebody can, Tim, if you can just tell me what the details are and if they're in different phases or, you know, where are we on this?
Mr. Brame, as soon as we get this agreement signed, then we'll be ready to move into the engineering design portion of this. We've done some traffic work ahead of this through the city of Lake Charles, but it's going to be basically going to work at this point. So there'll be widening from Cove Lane south to Sale Road, and then we're also going to, since there's going to be some widening on Sale Road to handle the additional turn lanes, There's, as you're aware of, there's a portion of Cell Road up to Rushannon that has not been 3-lane, so that's going to be incorporated into this project as well. So it's a 3-lane is what we're proposing. And so it's a good project. It's been needed for quite some time. Phase 2 will follow,
Okay,
and that will be from Cell Road going south to Country Club.
okay. I guess I'm, I just have a really huge concern about where Henderson Bayou comes into Prairie Lake Park, Prairie Lake Road, right there south of the park. Are we gonna do anything? Is that, we gotta have to make some changes there, signal it or something, so we can get that traffic out of Henderson Bayou onto Prairie Lake Road going south in the mornings and evenings, so.
And that's something that will be looked at as part of the design when we get into the more details as far as the traffic flow. I understand, you know, there are difficult times to find gaps in traffic trying to get out at that intersection.
Right, I know we've talked about it numerous times.
But whatever is warranted that we can do to improve that situation, we'll certainly take a look at it and do our best to.
Okay, so what you're saying is from Nelson Road, Prairie Lake Road, all the way to Isles is gonna be phase 1?
Right, Cove Lane.
Cove
south
Lane,
To Cell Road.
Cell Road, phase 1.
Right, and then also will include a portion of Cell Road back to Rushannon.
Okay.
Which is where the 3-lane
Right.
currently stops. And there's going to be some drainage improvements that will go off-site as far as getting to an outfall lateral, but the basic road widening will be in that area.
Yeah, when you pass South Prairie and you go into Isles, there's a lateral there, or is there gonna be a bridge there now, or are we gonna, because it dips down and goes low right there, so.
Whatever's required, I don't think it's going to require a bridge, but
Okay.
it will be sized to make sure that we've got the proper culverts or
Okay.
whatever's needed there. So we just haven't got in far enough into the design details to answer some of those questions, but they will be addressed in that process.
Okay, estimated time of start date?
I would anticipate that perhaps the engineering could be completed in a year. And then we'll have right-of-way acquisition. That's easily be another year, and then you've got your core permitting in that, during that time period. So
3 years.
2 years, I would say, is certainly probably more reasonable to before you could start construction on this.
Okay,
So
all right, Tim.
I wish I could tell you it'd be tomorrow, but it is just not.
Well,
quite
I'm
that
just
fast.
curious, kinda, I know the residents probably wanna know, because they're gonna be, the ones that's gonna be, you know, mostly, inconvenienced by the project, so, and I guess, you know, I keep thinking about Henderson Bayou during the construction. I just hoping we can, you know, deter traffic to where it flows a little bit better.
Well, that will certainly be part of the process.
Okay. All right, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Landry.
Well, I'll let Mr. Brain worry about Henderson Bayou. I'm gonna worry about the poor people on the other side of the road on Park and all those other streets, because believe me, they got the same problem. I mean, you can't get out. And, you know, that it's terrible. We're talking about 3 years, because it should have been done 3 years ago. You know, really, it's terrible there at certain times of the day. And I mean, hey, look, I know, I'm sure you're gonna do it as fast as you possibly can. I mean, we want it done right.
Right.
So that's for sure. So tell me, give me an estimate, a cost estimate, just real rough, and also where's the money gonna come from?
Estimated cost of the project, this includes some right-of-way acquisition as well, is about 17 million. It'd be split 50/50, city parish. And,
17 million, split 50/50.
yes.
$8.5 million. What fund's that gonna come from?
So we've got our 1 cent sales tax, which is collected city and parish,
Uh-huh.
and also some sales tax money.
That the one that collects about 2 million? 2 goes into 8, what
No,
about
that-
4 times? I don't know.
And there's sales tax money also, so it's not going to be one particular pot.
Okay.
It'll be more than one fund, but that can be part of it, yes, sir.
There's been some talk that they weren't getting their share, so it sounds like they're gonna get 4 years' worth on one project. I would say that was a pretty good deal.
It won't all come out of that one fund, but it will be part of the funding.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brain?
Yeah, Yeah, I understand those streets, Park and Magnolia and all those have the issue too, but they coming out and they're turning right. Henderson Bayou, I guess reason I have more concern on that is because they're crossing lanes going left and they're cutting through Prairie Lake Park.
Well, I was
And that's
down there
what
the
I'm
other day, and I came out and was trying to turn left.
Yeah,
So not
well-
everybody turns right. Sometimes they
No,
want to go left.
But the majority, but that's okay. But main thing is keeping them out of Prairie Lake Park, I guess, was my concern. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Scott?
Are we taking the lead on this, or is the city of Lake Charles?
City of Lake Charles is.
So you really can't answer some of these engineering questions. If they're gonna head it up, you're just kinda giving us what you think.
Well,
It might take them 3 years or 1 year, who knows?
We will be involved in the review process as this goes along, so we will be with them throughout the process. But they are the lead agency in this.
How much of this is in the city and how much is in the parish? Percentage-wise, just, ballpark it.
I couldn't give you exact percentage, but the majority of Phase 1 is in the city limits. We get closer down to the south end, it's probably closer to a 50-50.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Landry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know who the engineering firm is going to be that's going to handle the project?
It'll be ultimately the city's decision, but
Right, so
I
they haven't
believe
decided.
currently right now, that would be Walt Jessen, my understanding.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. I guess because it connects into the Cove Lane roundabout thing, do you anticipate appealing to any of the municipalities to fool with any gaming fund? I mean, is this, or that may come up as far as funding sources?
It hadn't come up at this point as far as gaming funds.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, any objections? Motion carries. Okay, item number 7.
Move to adopt.
Consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving an agreement for coordination of right-of-way on SVK property for the Goche Road Sewer Project Phase 2 in Ward 3. I have a motion by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item number 8, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving an active sale agreement with the purchase of property for the North Frontage Road project in Ward 4. Have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Andrepont?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me preface by saying that everyone knows the wheels of politics do not turn very rapidly, but I want to commend staff, especially Tim Connor and his people, for persevering over the years. Most of you weren't even here when these two projects, South Frontage and North Frontage, were introduced as a recommendation. I probably won't live to see it, but those two projects are going to be monumental one day. And I want to thank especially your staff for doing what you've done in the past, and I know that it's in good hands. I'm not going to go into a lot of the negativity that happened in the past, but there are some stories that probably why this thing was delayed to some degree, and I want to thank you for bringing it to my attention, and after that, we moved forward, and then we are where we are. So I just want to throw out a bouquet of roses to those who deserve it, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Andrepont. Mr. Landry?
You know, I'm disappointed. I think some of that negativity has worn off on you because you actually said you don't know that you're going to be here to see it. We all know you're going to live to at least be 100, so I know you're going to be here. It's going to happen before then. You got to think positive.
Well, Dr. Landry, I thank you for that.
No,
For that vote of confidence.
No problem. I feel very confident you're going to be here. In fact, you might still be on the police jury.
No, I promise you that ain't going to happen.
All right, any objections? Motion carries. Item number 9.
Move on now.
Second.
Consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution approving an active sale agreement for the purchase of property for the Coach Williams Drive Extension Project in Ward 4. Got a motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Mr. Scott. Mr. McMillan.
Thank you. Oh, if I don't mind, Mr. Chairman, Tim, I'd like to kind of just have an update for the people that may be watching on Seago. We are moving forward with Coach Williams Road as rapidly as possible. Could you give us just an overall update on how things are going?
Sure. Hal, we've acquired about 80% of the right-of-way. We're down to the final, more difficult ones that we're working through. The core permit, we expect to be delivered next month. And once those are in hand, then we're ready to go out for bids. So we've been talking all along as far as trying to meet that deadline of late spring, early summer, and I think we're on target. So we do have a few more comments we've got to receive from DOTD on the north and on the tie-in, but we're expecting those to be forthcoming soon.
And your best guess estimate on when the actual packages may go out?
Late spring, early summer, so, May, June, maybe July, depending on how quick we get the response from DOTD and these last right-of-ways are acquired. And I think the core permit's not going to be an issue. I'm expecting that in April.
Now, we want to deal with people on right-of-ways and try to get them from them, but if it turns into a situation that we have to go to a quick take, that's still an option to make sure we don't hold this project up.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for the hard work you're doing and working with Mr. Maker on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Any objections? Motion carries. Item number 10, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting resolutions as it relates to the Shadows of Bayou Oaks subdivision. And item A, accepting the Shadows at Bayou Oaks Phase 1 subdivision in Ward 4.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Hunter. Okay, any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Item B, approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the police jury, Sewer District Number 13 of Ward 4, and Rhino Property Developers, LLC, wherein the new community sewer system for the Shadows at Bayou Oaks Phase 1 subdivision will allow for increased capacity to accommodate an existing adjacent community sewer system owned by the district and to establish requirements for completion of the construction of the new community sewer system after acceptance of the subdivision. Motion by Mr. Landry, second by Mr. Hunter. Any discussion? Mr. Scott.
Mr. Wainwright, just off of reading this, is this one of those instances where we actually are kind of teaming up to get a better production or more capacity in that area? I mean, how is this working?
Yeah, I'd say yes, sir. It's an instance where there's an existing system. The developer is combining that into his development. It has some opportunities for even additional beyond that. So it's in the model of what we've talked about from time to time of trying to plan for future things around and incorporate it. It meets that definition. We've had those discussions before.
So he paid kind of the difference to upgrade what we have, and we're still running it. He won't have anything to do with it.
There's a cross-share agreement, various things are worked out, but the police jury will ultimately take this system over. Original parts of this system was part of a little sewer district that existed out there. It will ultimately roll into the police jury's management of this system, and our department will be running it, and basically be a community sewer system.
Great, sounds like we're well on our way to a utility district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
You're getting carried away now.
Any objections? Motion carries. Item 11, consideration of making a recommendation with reference to adopting a resolution accepting Jane Ava Estates subdivision in Ward 4. Motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Ms. Mayo. Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 12, are there any other matters for consideration?
Move to adjourn.
Well, I'd like to say something. due to the bad weather last night, I just want to take the opportunity to thank Public Works crews once again. I know they stayed out late in all areas of the parish last night, and probably not the way to spend an evening because it was pretty rough out there, and I appreciate all their hard work and their efforts. And then today, you know, I know my area was littered with red trucks, man, moving all over the place, and I really appreciate their hard work. Can I get a motion to adjourn? We have a motion to adjourn. And a second? We are adjourned. You're gonna have to put it back on there again. You're gonna have to enter your
All right, good evening. I now call to order the Agenda Committee of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury dated Thursday, March 30, 2017. The purpose of today's committee meeting is to formulate an agenda for the regular meeting of the police jury on April 6, 2017. I need a motion and a second to pull item 13. A motion by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Barris. Item 13. Take appropriate action on the terms of the following members of various boards, districts. We'll go through these one by one. A, Ms. Karen Nealons.
I'd like to move on to
Ward
eighth
2 Fire
appointments.
Protection, District Number 1.
Jillian Fox.
I have a motion by Mr. Latour to appoint Ms. Jillian Fox and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. B, Mr. William Bill Martin, Gravity Drainage District Number 8 of Ward 1.
Appoint
Mr.
David Brian Guidry.
Motion by Mr. White to appoint Mr. David Brian Guidry and a second by Mr. Guillory. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. And before we adjourn, we have a couple points of personal privilege. Mr. McMillan.
Thank you. Keep Les and Karen in your prayers. Karen's father, Mr. Rogers, passed away, and of course, the visitation is tonight. If any of y'all get to head over there to the funeral home, I'm gonna try to go afterwards too, and the funeral's tomorrow, but keep their family in your prayers. Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Mr. White.
Yeah, Judd beat me to the punch on recognizing staff for the efforts that they put forth last night for the rain event that we had. I know myself didn't get in until 2:30 this morning from cleaning culverts and helping the constituents of Moss Bluff with the drainage issues that was taking place, and staff was right along with me. I made the first phone call, and within 45 minutes, I had the first parish staff there with me in the trenches and cleaning culverts and finding out issues of why different neighborhoods weren't draining out like they should. It was a great team effort last night, and I really do appreciate the fast response on coming to my need and the citizens of Moss Bluff. So thank you. You'll back.
Anyone else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. We are adjourned. Thank you.